don't. And I think that the story you're giving is getting the causal relationship mixed up
Okay.
in the wrong direction, basically. The implication of the kind of story you just mentioned there is that you had an expansion of the franchise, and this led to a move to a focus on economic reform and a growth in the role of the state. So the argument is that you would not have had the growth in the state power that the Labour Party was advocating had it not been for the 1918 Act, Representation of the People Act, which created for the first time in British history universal suffrage, pretty much. I mean, it became universal in 1929 when women under 30 got the vote. So I think that's got it back to front. I think that actually the uh, the real cause of that shift to a more active and interventionist state were structural economic changes, structural changes in the way the economy worked and in the kinds of class interests that they produced. And two in particular. One is the growth of organised labour as a major social force. And I think that the expansion of the franchise was a consequence of the growth of working class power, if you will, and importance in the economy, rather than a cause of it. And secondly, the other side of it is the growth in large multi-divisional business firms as the dominant kind of economic organization in a market economy. Because in the 19th century, up until really the 1890s, the predominant form of firm was the owner-managed company. But by the 1920s, you clearly moved into the world we're familiar with of large multi-divisional joint stock companies, which are run by people who are not necessarily or even usually the owners of them. And that shift in the nature of capitalism produced large firms which actually favoured and often sought government intervention. It comes as much from that side as from the Labour side. And the other thing to say is that there's a kind of notion which is very popular on what you might call the romantic left, that the reason why the voting pool expands is because of popular pressure. There are lots of people out there saying, we want to have the vote, we want to be involved in politics. Actually, I don't think that's true. I think the reason why the franchise is extended dramatically and you move towards democratic politics is because ruling elites find that a better way of managing and controlling modern societies. They work out by the end of the 19th century that the old way of doing it through the church and the traditional forms of government that aristocratic monarchies had no longer works. And so I think that actually the move to a more democratic politics is a top-down phenomenon ultimately. Even though there is obviously popular pressure, I don't think that's the main motive force.